Hi everybody, welcome to day 3 of a cold turkey withdrawal from Sertraline. So I'm just going to start immediately with the symptoms that I've been experiencing. So it's mostly positive, but in terms of some of the symptoms that I've been experiencing, I've noticed that I'm still getting a lot of sleep disturbances. My energy is fluctuating up and down. Sometimes this can be every couple of hours. I might feel fatigued and then suddenly get a burst of energy. I'm also noticing that I'm getting some visual disturbances. So sometimes when I look at the floor, it seems like the floor's moving. So again, I just attribute that to the brain trying to sort of adjust to things, coming off the medication, removing that serotonin from the brain. So it's trying to ramp things up again there. And I've also noticed that my tinnitus is reducing, which is good. However, on the flip side, I am getting a lot of those brain zaps, so it's really, really intense at the moment. And again, that isn't bothering us too much, but I know that can affect people differently. It can be quite distressing to experience that. For me, I just kind of vibe with it. I just accept that it's there. And I know that within the next week or two, that should start to diminish and reduce further. So it's just part of that adjustment process. So like I've said in my previous videos, I'm just trying to lean into everything that's happening at the moment, not trying to identify with anything as being negative or particularly positive. It's just an experience and that's okay for it to be there. I have managed to stay very consistent with going for walks. So my friend's been asking us a lot to go out for walks, so I've just been going along with that because it kind of kills two birds with one stone. I get a bit of exercise, I get out in nature, get to enjoy the sounds of birds and the sea. Luckily I'm near the coast, but it's also great for releasing endorphins and feel-good hormones, which is naturally what I want at the moment. I definitely want to support this experience as best as I can. And in fact, I've even been going to the gym as well, so I've got a weightlifting program that I'm doing at the moment. It's nothing particularly too drastic, just because I am coming off the back of 8 months of pretty much being bedbound, so a lot of my muscle that I previously had is atrophied. A lot of my muscles are very sore even after just light workouts, and that's because I'm trying to recondition my body there. However, if you are capable of that, I would definitely advise you to do some form of exercise, some form of resistance training. It usually is pretty good for you. Of course, again, I would also discuss that with your doctor, because you may have certain conditions or dispositions that can affect that. And of course, you don't want to do any damage to your body or aggravate any kind of situation that you have going on. At this point in the process, I am very hopeful. It doesn't seem like anything drastic has happened. The only thing that I can think that was quite overwhelming was I had quite a vivid dream the other night. It was really emotionally intense, and I woke up and it took us about an hour or so to adjust to the emotional turmoil of that, which again is totally fine. I just sort of sat there, accepted that was just an experience and that it was okay for it to be there. And then again, within an hour, it just kind of faded and I was sort of back to normal. I have noticed when I'm trying to sort of engage with my friends and social situations, it can be a little bit more taxing at the moment. I've noticed that sometimes just midway through a conversation I might start feeling random anxiety out of nowhere. Again, I don't put that down to any of my symptoms particularly creeping in. It feels more just like a product of coming off the medication. So again, I just kind of lean into that and it sort of diminishes over time. In terms of supplements, I'm still taking those omega-3s, which is algae oil. It does have, I believe it's DHA and EPA. It's something along those lines. I can't quite remember the acronyms, but they're the beneficial fats that are good for your brain. I've also started adding in magnesium glycinate to my supplement stack, and I do it before bed just because it's supposed to help calm the nervous system and help you with sleep a little bit. What I've noticed is it doesn't feel like an unnatural sedative or like you're being medicated. It just felt like I was calmer. So I'm definitely going to keep trying that for the next few nights, just because it seems to help. I'm also still taking my COVID stack or my post-COVID stack. So as I mentioned in my first video, I have had long COVID for 8 months. So I'm taking things that are anti-inflammatory. So I'm taking NAC, which is NAC or N-acetylcysteine. It's a very, very powerful anti-inflammatory drug and antioxidant. And apparently it might even have some mood boosting properties as well. So I'm definitely going to stick with that. It's very cheap as well. I'm also taking vitamin D now, so I actually got a document through the other day from a blood test from my doctors, and it said I was on the low end of vitamin D, not particularly anything too bad. I believe it was 47. I can't quite remember how they measure it, but it was 47, which is just slightly under where you want to be. So I'm starting to take 2000 IUs of vitamin D at the moment, and I'm also adding that in with K2. So K2 actually works as a symbiotic agent with the vitamin D, and that makes sure that things like calcium, which can be affected by vitamin D, are going to the right places and they're not getting deposited in your arteries. Instead, it's going into your bones and your teeth and places where it should be. I'm also taking glutamine. So glutamine, again, is an amino acid, and it does help with things like muscle building from what I remember reading. However, I'm actually taking it for gut lining repair. So again, there's some good evidence to suggest that glutamine can actually help repair your gut. If you've had any sort of serious viruses or illnesses or anything like that and you're experiencing gut issues, then apparently it can help with that. And I've really noticed that since having food intolerances, which developed after getting COVID, that the glutamines really helped to reduce them, and I'm pretty much back to normal eating now. Although I don't aggravate that by starting to go back to things like sugars and soda and anything that isn't naturally sourced that probably will aggravate my body and cause inflammation. I'm really used to the healthy eating now, so I want to stick with that. And again, through this process of withdrawing from sertraline, it is a very taxing event for the body, so I just want to give myself the best possible chance of feeling really stable in terms of my moods. I'm also taking some electrolytes, so although magnesium glycinate is technically an electrolyte, I'm also taking an electrolyte powder, so that is potassium, magnesium, sodium, calcium, and even some other things I can't quite remember, but they're kind of the main ones, and they can affect things like muscle function and your heart rate, keeping it stable, and plenty of other things. Again, I'm not an expert, but it's really, really interesting to read about it, and I've noticed with us doing a lot more exercise at the moment, it just keeps us a lot more stable, and I feel like I can recover easier. It also means that my moods seem less susceptible to kind of flip-flopping about. I feel a little bit more grounded. And lastly, I'm also taking creatine. So again, this is usually used as a muscle building supplement. It's actually really, really powerful, and it's one of the best studied supplements for muscle building. So if you're into that kind of thing, it's really, really worth trying it out, and it's really, really cheap as well. But there's some evidence as well that it's really, really effective for your brain and actually support your mood, and it can reduce things like brain fog. And again, with us experiencing a bit of brain fog after COVID, throughout long COVID, and also as part of the process of coming off sertraline, I just want to stick with that. You know, it's cheap, it's effective, and I'm lifting weights anyway, so why not? It's kind of affecting everything in a really, really positive way. So that's kind of my main supplement stack at the moment. It's really cheap, it's inexpensive, and it can be potentially really powerful. Again, make sure you speak to your doctor before adding any supplements into your diet, but certainly those are some of the things you might want to look out for. My diet's also still been really, really on point. So today I started with a mixed bowl of fruit. I had some blueberries, had some mangoes and some coconut. But I also had for dinner a lentil soup, and I added some chicken into that. I added some potatoes, some carrots, some turnip, and I used an organic chicken stock as well. So no kind of additives or nasties there, just really nice flavours, chicken fat, things like that. And I feel really, really good from that. I also don't tend to drink anything other than water at the moment. Occasionally I will have a decaf coffee, just because caffeine can aggravate things like anxiety, and if I'm withdrawn from medication, I don't want to add to that fuel. And I do tend to like a little bit of tea as well, and I do add things like whole milk in, just because whole milk's really good for you. It's got loads of nutrition, and I do like a cup of tea. You know, I'm from the UK, so it's one of those things. I will more than likely be making an Instagram that you can follow as well, so I'll start adding that to my descriptions, and that'll basically just have a multitude of pictures that'll show some of the things that I'm eating, some of the vitamins that those foods contain, and how it might benefit you. So you may want to look at that, you know, if you're going through your own kind of health process, or if you're wanting to consider coming off SSRIs or withdrawn from the medication. Having a healthy diet's really, really going to help that process, so you may want to check that out. But yeah, other than that, nothing too concerning to report. To be honest, I'm feeling pretty positive. I'm full of energy at the moment. I'm managing to socialise still, going out for long walks. I'm doing a weightlifting routine. I'm interacting with my family. I'm not oversleeping or undersleeping particularly. I am getting a little bit of broken sleep, but I can usually fall back asleep, which is really, really nice. I kind of expected that anyway, so, you know, even if something crops up, I just sort of lean into it. I knew that would be part of the process, so that's fine. Doing an ad though, I am currently out of work. In fact, I've been out of work since I developed long COVID. I was pretty much disabled for a long period of time there. However, I am feeling really positive at the moment, and I'm feeling like I'm really getting back on track. So I am starting to look for jobs. I'm crafting CVs, which is like an application, or you might know it as a resume in America. And I'm also looking into doing things like my own business at some point, but I may also focus on the YouTube channel as well. Definitely want to grow some of this more raw organic content. I do think I'll be looking at things like fitness and eating well in the future, and maybe looking at covering things like supplements that can help you. So if that sounds like something you might be interested in, then definitely subscribe. Definitely drop some comments as well. I want to hear from you. I want to engage with you. Tell me about your experiences as well. That helps me feel like I'm not in this journey alone. I'm not by myself. So yeah, definitely want to chat with you if you've got anything to say. Absolutely. But yeah, like I say, other than that, nothing else to report. It's been a great day 3, and I hope it continues. If anything extraordinary happens or anything comes out the blue, then I'll definitely update a video straight away. But for now, I'm kind of happy with how it's going, and I believe you guys can do it too. But like I say, before you make any kind of major actions, definitely speak to your doctor, of course. But yeah, for now, that's been day 3, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I will speak to you guys soon. Bye for now.